Hi, guys. I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about this moment in time 60 years ago, which is what kind of got me thinking about it. When John Lennon. Okay, well, what happened was in March of 1966, John Lennon's at an interview for a UK magazine, and like a hair on my microphone. And he made a comment when they were talking about religion in the UK and how a lot of young people weren't as religious as they used to be. And so they were discussing that. And he said, well, now, mind you, the Beatles at this point, 66, have a ravenous fan base. The girls, we've all seen the video of women going completely nuts. It's kind of funny to watch these old videos with Elvis and the Beatles, and the people are fainting. People are like going bananas. Do we not get that way about anything? I mean, I don't think anybody gets that way about anything anymore. Anyway, so he's talking about it, and he says basically that the Beatles are more popular than Jesus. Well, in the UK, this came, this went, no big deal. Some people thought it was a little arrogant, whatever, but it just came and went. Then this magazine in the south of the United States, I feel like it was Alabama or somewhere, publishes a teen magazine called Dateline. I think that's what it's called. And in the magazine, they wrote, John Lennon, quote, the Beatles are, I forget if he said bigger than, I think he said Beatles are bigger than Elvis. I'll look it up because in this book, they have like, is it this one? No. One of these books I saw, I was trying to find it. I think it's in this book. We'll read this. They have like old articles from UK newspapers, and they have it in here so we can read it. But they printed that he basically said the Beatles are bigger than Elvis. And the Bible Belt, which I don't have a map right here, but if you're not from the U.S., it's the southern U.S. states is known, that area is the Bible Belt because it's very filled with Baptist and evangelical Christians. And they like got really mad about this comment, and it was really taken out of context of the whole discussion. But they started doing these like burnings of the albums from the Beatles and, you know, telling their kids they can't go and saying how evil the Beatles were. And it was a real problem because the Beatles had just released their album. By the way, I have the Beatles. This is part of why I'm doing it this way, so I can show you these things. This is the Beatles CD, like, oh my God, how do I open it? It's every CD they ever made. Hold on. Am I crazy? Does it? Oh, did you see that? It opens like a magnet. Okay. All right. And some of you may know I love the Beatles. So this is the one I grew up with was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I know every single word to every single song. You can test me. Okay, hold on. I'm looking for the album so I can show it to you. Sorry, I should have been more prepared. Look at how cool the graphics. This is where AI is going to ruin our life because, look, this is the album Revolver by the Beatles. I had this album too when I was a kid. These were my basic albums I grew up on, along with Carole King's Tapestry. That informs who I am. But anyway, this album was just being released in 1966. And it was like a total ban on radio play in the South. And then some stations in the North banned them for a while, but kind of gave up on it, I think. But in the South, they were banned from radio. And we'll go over the set list on this because you'll be like, oh, that's a lot of good songs. But I heard that a lot of times these teen kids would go to the burnings of the albums with their parent and then go out and buy the album again. So some people feel like it may have actually helped sales, which is funny. You know, I feel like this artist, wasn't there an artist named Max? I can't read the writing. It's so small. I'm going to have to look up who did the art on this. Anyway, so they had a tour in the U.S. and people were calling in bomb threats. The KKK, who apparently is very Christian, set up demonstrations outside of their concerts, and it just became where they felt like their manager, Brian Epstein, was getting so many bomb threats for their concerts. He felt like it was unsafe for the fans who were coming to the shows. And so John Lennon in Chicago later that year apologized for it. And I was curious. I was trying to look up like what he ever said about that. And he did say he apologized for the toll it took on the fans. But he wasn't really apologizing for what he said because he stood by that. I mean, he wrote the song Imagine after it, which is a very much a questioning of religion. And all the Beatles were, had been doing this spiritual search. I don't know what you want to call it. They had gone to India. George Harrison, during the recording of Hard Day's Night, what was the one they made the long movie about? But anyway, he had like a Hare Krishna guy with him hanging out, But anyway, so they were very much into like spiritualism and trying to understand, like young guys, they're in their 20s, late 20s. They're trying to just sort through what's what. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. Now, I did see it, and this is called The Rock and Roll Years, the chronicle of the lives and times of the rock and roll generation from 1955 to present day. Well, it's an old book, so I don't know about present day. But what's cool about it is you can look it up by year, and they have articles, but they're all from sorry, I got sidetracked looking at Elvis Presley. They're all from England, it seems like, when we looked at this book before. But I want to show you. Hold on. We're getting there. We're looking for August. Okay, August of 1966. It says, Lennon in the Wars. In the Wars? What is that? John Lennon is to split from the Beatles for 2 months. This is something else, but just days after the group returned to the UK from their current US tour. He has been offered a part in the Second World War film, How I Won the War. I've never heard of that. Have you? May have to check that out. Which is to be made on location in West Germany and Spain during September and October by director Dick Lester, who made the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, and Help movies. Okay, here's the part. Meanwhile, when the Beatles arrived in Chicago at the opening of their 1966 U.S. tour, controversy surrounded them. Remarks made by John Lennon in a UK press interview earlier in the year to the effect that the Beatles were currently more popular than Jesus were hardly noticed at home. However, following belated U.S. syndication, the comments have upset many religious-minded Americans and ignited fury among some who chose to conceal their own bigotry behind religion, notably the Ku Klux Klan, which has leapt in with Beatle record-burning bonfires, denouncing him as the devil's emissary and the group in general as foreign undesirables. Lennon took the bit between his teeth for the sake of good relations on the tour, publicly apologized at a Chicago press conference to those he had offended. He was sorry for having expressed himself poorly and thus giving mistaken impressions, and added that he would be more guarded in the future. See, that part I don't like. He also made clear, however, that he defended his right to hold controversial opinions. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You know that part where he says he'll be more guarded in the future? And not to bring it back to me, but what else can I do? I have had videos where people are like, you shouldn't say this. And part of me goes, I mean, maybe I shouldn't. But yeah, I don't want to be, I don't think we should have to be more guarded. Like, say what you say. People might hate you. People might like it. You got to say what you say. But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. That was August of 1966 that this was in here. That same year or the year before, I can't remember the story, but it was, okay, the Beatles were touring. They were in the Philippines. And the one with the shoes, people my age know, Imelda Marcos. By the way, Imelda Marcos is famous to us people from the 80s, maybe 90s, maybe early 90s, because she had a gargantuan shoe collection. I don't know how many, but it came out that she had like, I don't know, I don't even want to pretend to have a number, 20,000 shoes or something. And so it was all in the comedy shows. Anyway, but they went to the Philippines and were performing and everything's going along fine. But apparently the Marcos invited them to breakfast, and Brian Epstein, their manager, had a rule to not go political, like do anything that would get them involved in politics in any way. So they declined the invitation. But Imelda Marcos was told they accepted it. And so there was a whole like brouhaha because they didn't show up. And I feel like they had to have security to get out of the country. So it had been a weird year. And the Beatles already didn't love touring because the fans would scream so loud. And back then they didn't have like the ear things they have now and the equipment that they have now. So they found it hard to perform. And also, by the time they were getting into like Revolver, their compositions were very complicated and they couldn't really replicate. It's not like singing I Want to Hold Your Hand. They were singing, I'm looking for one. She said, go listen to that song and imagine performing that on stage, right? I'll read all the songs to you in a minute. But so they were already kind of not liking touring. But then after this happened and the amount of death threats and bomb threats they had, they just decided to quit touring. I think this 66 was the last U.S. tour the Beatles did. I'm pretty sure that's right. So that happened. All right, here's the set list for, or not set list, but the songs on Revolver album. There the Beatles are playing. And there they are. Okay. This is so full of good songs. Okay, it has Taxman. Love it. Eleanor Rigby. I really thought, that's funny. I guess I listened to this more than I thought because I was thinking Eleanor Rigby was on Sgt. Pepper. I'm going to have to look at this one too. Hold on. Sorry. That's so funny. I would have thought. Okay. I'm Only Sleeping. Can't say I remember that. Love You Too. Here, There, and Everywhere. Oh my God. Here, There, and Everywhere. Such a good song. Yellow Submarine. That was written by Ringo Starr. Just, She Said, She Said. She said, I know what it's like to be dead. I know what it is to be sad. It's a good one. Okay, Good Day, Sunshine. I mean, hello. Good Day, Sunshine. I do put that on in the morning sometime. That and Carole King's Beautiful. That's a good way to wake up, my friends. Okay, and your bird can sing? I don't know. For no one. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I can't think of it, but it's a good one. Dr. Robert, I want to tell you, got to get you into my life. Tomorrow never knows. Oh, and there's a Revolver mini documentary. What? I don't know. Okay, and then Sgt. Pepper. Oh my gosh, you guys. This has Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band with a little help from my friends. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Getting Better All the Time. Fixing a Hole. I want to sing them all. Okay, Fixing a Hole. She's Leaving Home. It's so good. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite. Within, Without You. When I'm 64. Lovely Rita. Made. Good morning, good morning, good morning. That's another good one you could put on your morning playlist. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band Reprise, A Day in the Life. So good. Okay, anyway. Yeah, that's funny. If you had quizzed me, I would have said Eleanor Rigby was on here, and I would have been like at a 99% confidence. So it shows what I know. Okay, oh, here's the mini documentary. Look, I didn't even... Oh my God, I have a DVD player. I may have to watch that. I didn't even know that was in there. I've probably watched it a long time ago. I don't remember. Okay. So I'll put those back in there. I don't have a CD player right now, so I can't even listen to this. My car doesn't have one. All right. So let's just look. This one I already looked in. It's not in here. I was hoping it was, but it's not. But we do have the best-selling albums of all time. Now, what have we done, you guys? 70s, I think. 80s? I can't remember which decades we've done. I'll have to look, but we'll have to do it again because this is a fun thing to look at. Even though it's the best-selling, not the best, like, number one hits. Okay. We'll go through the 60s, even though maybe it'll blow it for later, but we'll do it anyway. Hold on. Okay. The best-selling albums of the 1960s. Gosh, does this feel like your first grade teacher? Hold on, let me move. Okay. We have Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I'm sorry. I got... Spinning Wheel is on here. You've made me so very happy. Okay. I was like, do I know any of these? I think I should. All right. What do you think is number 19? Sounds of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah. You know, this album came out. Hold on. Let me look. This album. What year did it come out? 66. I'm pretty sure this album, maybe another one, had a lot of hit songs on the radio. And Mike Nichols was working on The Graduate and had asked Simon and Garfunkel to write the music for the soundtrack to The Graduate. But they were so busy touring that they weren't getting it done. This is from my memory, so forgive me if it's not quite right. But so while he was editing, he used Homeward Bound. He used Rosemary and Thyme, but that's not on this album. But anyway, as placeholders while he was waiting for them to finish the song. And back then, every soundtrack was fresh music. Usually composed, music, you know what I mean, orchestrated. So then it comes time for Simon's I'm going to start really working on this for you. And he goes, you know what? Can I just use these songs that are already hit songs on radio, which had never been done before? And he's like, okay. He goes, I just love them as the music for The Graduate. And he said, the only song I need is something for, the Mrs. Robinson character. And Paul Simon already had a song that he was starting to work on called Mrs. Roosevelt. And he said, can you just change the name to Robinson? And he's like, yeah, but I don't have all the words done yet. This is what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. And so they went into studio and they made like Mrs. Robinson, and they just went do 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 do. And Mike Nichols is like, I love it. And he goes, no, that's just a placeholder. I'm going to write words. And he's like, I want it just like that. And so they used it in the movie like that. The movie came out. It was a big hit. And then after that, Simon and Garfunkel went in, finished the song Mrs. Robinson, and recorded it post it being popular. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that was a side note. Okay, then we have the Beatles' Help in 1960. Here they are. I'm spelling out the word help, I guess. Or are those symbols? I don't know. Anyway, Van Morrison, Moondance. Oh, what a good album. Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. Yes, please. In Agata Davida. What the heck? Iron Butterfly. In Agata Davida. What? Most Anything You Want. Flowers and Beads. My Mirage. Termination. Are You Happy? In Gata Davida. I know heavy metal. Kind of. I don't know that. Okay. I'll have to look it up. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but not Young. Just Crosby, Stills, and Nash. It's a good one. All right. Are You Experienced? Jimi Hendrix. Sure. A Hard Day's Night. Another Beatles. Meet the Beatles. I mean, this is how big they were is what I'm showing you. The Monkees. A Beatles wannabe band. No, they actually were talented. I shouldn't. Another Monkees. And that's beating out the Beatles. Okay. Number 8, Revolver. The Beatles. Comes out in 1966. So yeah, that is it. Okay. Maybe we'll read a little. We'll see. But let's finish. Number 7, Magical Mystery Tour. The Beatles. Led Zeppelin. Do you want to hear a Led Zeppelin story? I'll tell it to you in a minute. Okay. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Yes, please. Led Zeppelin 2. Abbey Road, the Beatles. What's number 1? 1960s biggest selling album. Has to be the whole album. Are we ready? The White Album by the Beatles. Okay. The Led Zeppelin thing real quick. Apparently, like, I own the DVD collection of Live Aid, and I watched it live. I mean, everybody who was my age watched Live Aid. It was such a big deal. And Phil Collins, it was in England, I guess London. I don't really know, somewhere in England. And Philadelphia, U.S. It was in the U.S. and London, or England and the U.S. Oh my God. And it was a big deal that Phil Collins flew from one place to another, and he performed on both continents. Okay. That was like a big deal. And it was kind of a big deal. Like, it was kind of fun. Did he fly the Concorde? I don't know if he did or not, but I was looking at doing a video on the Concorde jet. But anyway, okay, I gotta calm down. I get excited when I talk about music. So he's in the US, he's performing with Led Zeppelin, and they hadn't rehearsed. And so you've got the Led Zeppelin drummer. I guess that was their drummer. I mean, it was somebody, I don't know. And then Phil Collins is also drumming, 2 drummers. I don't know why. And what's his name? Jimmy Page. Wait, which one? I'm having a memory. I can't read it. Robert Plant's the main singer, right? And Jimmy Page is the guitarist. Am I mixing them up? Anyway, he's stoned off his butt. He can't play guitar. The singing isn't that good. I just watched it last night. This is what I did with my life. And I was like, it's not that bad. And my husband's like, no, it's really musically terrible. It's bad. I was like, Okay. But you can only see it on YouTube because they put out this multi-part DVD series of Live Aid. Totally put it on if you're having a party at your house. People are going to love it. But they cut the Led Zeppelin part out of there because Led Zeppelin was like too embarrassed about it. Okay, let's see what they say about Revolver. It sold 5,300,000, regarded widely as one of the greatest pop albums of all time. Wow, okay. The Beatles' coming of age as songwriters and musicians. Yet another step in the band's continuing effort to go beyond the confines of standard pop song fodder. Revolver is loaded with an eclectic array of subject matter, including Harrison's caustic indictment of unfair tax system in Taxman, McCartney's haunting portrait of a lonely spinster in Eleanor Rigby, and Lennon's tape-looped rumination, Tomorrow Never Knows. Meanwhile, Here, There, and Everywhere remains one of the band's most affecting love songs. The Beatles also began to explore fully the possibilities of recording studio on Revolver, bringing the material to sonic life with innovative electronic wizardry. I said that word wrong. Revolver shot to the top of the charts and stayed there for 6 weeks, spurring the double-sided hit single that paired Yellow Submarine with Eleanor Rigby. The album also garnered 2 Grammy Awards. McCartney won for Best Contemporary Solo Vocal Performance for Eleanor Rigby, and Klaus Voormann won for Best Album Cover. Klaus Voormann. We have our answer, kids. So there's the album cover, and it is by an artist named Klaus Voormann, who now I may have to look up because I'm not familiar. And I love the album cover. Okay, so there we go. Number 1 singles. None. That's funny. None of them hit number 1. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was kind of a rambly thing, but kind of interesting. Something you can talk about probably if you do trivia, because it was 60 years ago. It might come up in trivia this month. Maybe. All right. I will talk to you soon. I do have to now walk around. It's like, do you ever watch those, I don't know, like true crime, like Dateline or the Netflix ones, and they show the person like when they know they're on camera and they're fidgeting and they're like saying stuff, or sometimes they're acting like a jerk and they show it. That's what this is like. But it always makes me laugh. It's like, you should know if the camera's on you, it's probably recording. Anyway, okay,